You say that the government shouldn't answer to the president, it should answer to the people. Well, how do the people?
They should be responsible.
How do the people?
You said, I don't think this is what the American people signed up for, but I think it's exactly what we signed up for. I don't know if any president in history spent this much time on holding accountability and efficiency to his own government.
There's no
just
mystery.
a vague email.
There's no mystery, and let me offer them an explanation. This administration would like to make the federal government smaller. We would like to spend less on payroll. You just got here, therefore you won't be working here anymore. It's pretty simple, and they shouldn't take it personally.
Wanting people to snitch on each other, wanting colleagues to snitch on each other. Who supported Biden? Who did this? Who did that? There's websites targeting people who are government, not political appointees, civil servants. And I will tell you that I'm not sure everybody knew what they were signing up for.
Hello, everybody. Guys, let's get right into this Abby Phillips panel. This kind of pissed me off. They're just avoiding the complete and just obvious issue here. Let's check this out and we'll talk about it.
Breaking news, mass firings have begun at federal agencies according to employee and union sources. Probationary employees are being fired at the Department of Education and the Small Business Administration. Now, until now, federal employees across the government were just placed on administrative leave. Jamal is back with us at the table. These firings appear to affect people. The Department of Education has been in DOJ's sights. People in the Office of Special Education and Rehabilitation Services that supports kids with disabilities and the Federal Student Aid Office. That's at least what we know right now. I also want to read part of what the letter said to these employees. Quote, the agency finds, based on your performance, that you have not demonstrated that your further employment at the agency would be in the public interest. So it's begun.
So most of the 19th century, the civil service was open for patronage, right? It was handled by big city bosses and, politicians of both parties. In 1883, President Chester Arthur made the merit-based system civil service. And that was to get rid of politics in our civil service so we knew we could count on government employees to do the people's business, not the politicians' business. We are not just going back to some previous, thing in the 70s, 1970s, or the 1950s. We're going all the way back to the 1870s and how the President of the United States wants to govern. So whether he wants to be President McKinley and start annexing like new lands overseas, or he wants to go back to an earlier era where everybody's going to be beholden to the president and not beholden to the people. This is not, I think, what the American public signed up for. They wanted change, and the Democrats want change. All of us, I think, want to have a government that works for us, it's faster, it's more efficient, but we don't want a government that doesn't work for us and works for billionaires and the president of the United States.
Every 4 years. I mean, I'm just trying to put...
And, conservatives out there, do you not notice that everything they're cutting is to benefit us everyday people? The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Department of Education, Small Business Administration. Guys, they even fired a staff that was watching over the nukes. These people are just out of their mind. They're so greedy. Conservatives. This is a billionaire in Trump working with the richest man in the world who's controlling him like a puppet. Do I have to reword this in a conspiracy for you to see what's right in front of you?
My head in the position of this country when Trump is not president, right? Every 4 years, presumptively now, the president's going to come in and the entire civil service of the government is going to change out, and all the things that you relied on the government to do, now you have no idea whether the government's going to do it or not because of the whims of the president. I think that is also something that we have to take seriously as a possibility here.
Well, the whims, as you call them, are embedded in the Constitution of the United States. The president's the head of the executive branch. He ought to be able to decide how to operate the executive branch and who works at the executive branch. And you say that the government shouldn't answer to the president, it should answer to the people. Well, how do the people?
They should be responsible.
How do the people choose how to govern themselves? By electing a president. And so, look, these are probationary employees. I don't know how many it is, but all I know is this. Government only ever seems to get bigger. It never really seems to get smaller. He promised to make it smaller, and now they're making it smaller. To me, the political upside here is quite obvious.
And I think this goes...
Guys, these people are just fools. He's just such an idiot. Oh, it's big. We wanted it small. Smaller, bigger, bigger, smaller. These are the guys that were crying about defunding police, and this is going to make us more unsafe, which I'm not for defunding the police. But how would defunding the Department of Education help with education? Like, these guys are just fools, and the hypocrisy. Part of this channel, guys, is to show conservatives the hypocrisy and the things that you may believe in. They don't believe in it. They just know that you do, and they use it against you. I'm going to talk more about that further later on.
Hand in hand with the buyouts that were offered that the judge then put a freeze on, right? And so
And
if
that
they
freeze,
can't,
just to be clear, that freeze has now been lifted
Right.
by the judge because the
and it's
case
going to
is
be appealed.
going on.
So if it's, if they can't do it through the buyouts, then they're going to fire people. And who can they fire? They can fire the people who don't yet have union protection because they are probationary, as Scott just
Meaning
said.
they were more
which means,
recently hired.
yeah, which means I don't understand how they can be sending an email saying your performance has proven not to be up to par when they were just recently
Yeah,
hired.
it seems like a bit
It's very
of a,
arbitrary.
It seems
yeah.
like a bit of a, they're trying to, it's kind of CYA, like
Yeah.
you have to put that in there to justify firing someone, even though the firing is really more about Scott's point than it is actually about this person's performance, which we will probably end up seeing in court at some point.
I want to go back to Jamal's point and respectfully disagree. You said, I don't think this is what the American people signed up for, but I think it's exactly what we signed up for. I don't know if any president in history spent this much time on holding accountability and efficiency to his own government. So the Department of Education has a $70 billion budget annually, yet we haven't seen any progress in the educational system over the last 4 years. We're ranked 13 in the world. We're like 24th in science, 18th in math. We're really not doing well on a global stage in terms of our education system performance. So I think evaluating, where is the $70 billion going? Where are we failing? And how do we make this better? I don't know if blind firings for probational employees is the right thing to do, but I think definitely investigating through DOJ why we are failing so badly in the DOE is absolutely the right move to do.
I'm saying, every
No, Emily. Yeah, it's not a good idea to just fire people blindly. And you're saying that Trump is spending this much time. If you've never seen a president spend this much time, that's the issue. He's not spending any time. He's just cutting things blindly. Like, again, and this whole thing about we're not performing well. Guys, I'm not a president, but I have an idea. How about we look at the states that are performing the worst, right? We should start with those. That would make sense, right? And I have the list here: West Virginia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Alabama. These are all blood red states. Like, the issue is not with what Democrats have been doing with Department of Education. These are blood red states. And if Trump cared about any of his voters, their education, their future, the way he threatened, because you don't call something the Gulf of America and ban those reporters, he can use that same threat, that same aggressive action, which I don't agree with, but he could use that to push those states to remove these incapable people in their education, whatever pool there, and put people in that makes sense. Fund these places better. You can help these states. If Trump cared about these people, he can help these states. These are all blood red states. He's not doing crap to help you. This is all to take away your money so he can do tax cuts so it can help him and his billionaire buddies. What a surprise. The billionaire and the richest man in the world.
government office I've ever seen. You can walk through the door, you can ask anybody, who around here is not doing their job? They'll tell you. People will tell you who's not doing their job. You can get rid of those people. I don't know if anybody would complain, but it's the mass firings that says something else is afoot. It's not just what they're calling it.
I agree.
I think-
There is something else afoot.
Yeah, I think that going off of what you were saying, Emily, with the budget, I think more than half of the budget goes to grants and loans for low-income students, for them to be able to attend college, things like that. And so, but I do agree with your point that we need to be doing more on education. And so there needs to be some sort of reform. And I think that this has been something that conservatives have long wanted, is shrinking the Department of Education. So I support all of that in that regard. But where I have the issue is these firings, and what is the reasoning for them? Are these people being laid off because maybe they're anti-Trump and posted things on social media? Like, what is these people deserve a little bit more of an explanation then.
No, there's no
just
mystery.
a vague email.
There's no mystery, and let me offer them an explanation. This administration would like to make the federal government smaller. We would like to spend less on payroll. You just got here, therefore you won't be working here anymore. It's pretty simple, and they shouldn't take it personally. But these guys got elected to shrink the government, and that's what they intend to do.
Scott, there has.
What a surprise. These super rich people, 13 billionaires surrounded Trump. the richest man in the world. They want to cut jobs. They want to cut payroll from everyday working class Americans, lower income Americans, defunding these things that help all of us. Again, if they gave a F about us, conservatives, I'm speaking to you, why not spend all this effort, all these resources by these so-called geniuses that are around to closing tax loopholes that are making it so that the richest families in this country, guys, are paying an 8% tax rate? Imagine if you paid a quarter of the taxes you're paying now, or a third. You could get that house, you could get that car, you could get that small businesses. Maybe not now. They're defunding the Small Business Administration. Guys, they aren't paying their fair share in taxes. This is why yours is so high. And to get even more tax cuts, because 8% it's just too high for them. They're taking away resources that are meant to make our lives a little bit better, our kids' lives a little bit better, getting them better education, better health, better chances at a future with small business administrations. Because I know you hate everything that the people on the left say, but you lose credibility, an extreme amount of credibility, when you just can't push back on the blatant obvious.
Been like cold emails going to government workers even before Trump took office in those 2 months between the transition, wanting people to snitch on each other, wanting colleagues to snitch on each other. Who supported Biden? Who did this? Who did that? There's websites targeting people who are government, not political appointees, civil servants. And I would tell you that I'm not sure everybody knew what they were signing up for. I remember reading the case of a VA worker who was moving to Washington because they just gotten a new employment, right? And now now it's frozen. And guess what? They voted for Trump, but they've sold their house, they've sold their car, they are ready to move to Washington, D.C. to be a VA worker, and now they're out of jobs. And so that's going to happen to Republicans, Democrats, and everybody in between.
There is a question that is for another day about whether there is an ideological litmus test now for working in the government. And I think that there are some indications that perhaps there is. Sarah Matthews, thank you.
Of course there is. If you're not a cultist and they find out, you're out of there. These people are insane. And guys, this whole, I think it's important to keep bringing up over and over when Trump said he could shoot someone in Times Square and you guys will still vote for him. Do you understand what he was really saying there? He wasn't saying that you guys loved him and you were so loyal to him. He was calling you dumb. He was calling you mindless. That you would follow him regardless of what he does. You're incapable of thinking for yourself. This is what he was telling you. And this is coming truly. This is a one-of-a-kind, unintelligent man. This is just a brutal insult, MAGA. Oh, but you're the alpha male, right? You guys are so alpha. It's pathetic. Not being able to call out something blatantly obvious is pathetic. It's weak. It's not alpha.